Well, that sucked.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's do it. What's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. I don't want to do the recap, but we have to talk about it. Kentucky loses at home to Auburn 80, can't even speak. 94-78 is the final score. Cats could not get a stop to save their life. Miles Kelly with an uncharacteristic 30 points with a couple of banked threes. Team, if I'm not mistaken, shot 3 of 12 from beyond the arc outside of him. And the Cats turn it over 18 times. Jackson Robinson might be out for the season with a wrist injury that will require surgery. And, I think every metric that you could have possibly looked at heading into this contest indicated that Auburn was going to win. Like, computer models said, hey, Auburn's going to win. Torvik said it. Kim Pom said it. Kasla said it. And if you watch these two teams, Auburn is objectively the best team in the nation. Anyone that does not think that they are clearly the best team in college basketball and clearly the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament, I think is either an idiot or they're lying to themselves. Auburn could lose out and they would still be objectively the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. That is an incredibly well-rounded, balanced team that went out there and put on a championship performance. First time they've won since 1988 in Rupp Arena. Cats went out with a whimper after they started the second half with 6 straight turnovers on 6 straight possessions. Appreciate everybody in the live chat commenting on this show here outside of that one guy. Let's go ahead and get into it. If you have not subscribed to the show, would love for you to do so. I don't really have a whole lot to say here outside of Kentucky did not come to play. The team did not come to play. And Auburn shot the ever-loving life out of the ball in the first half and Kentucky could not get a stop. How did Auburn win? I think it's pretty straightforward. They leaned on Miles Kelly, who is a very good shooter, like a very good player. Don't get me wrong. But to make 9 threes, to go 10 of 17, 9 of 14 from 3, and to drop 30, part of it was Kentucky wasn't fighting through screens hard enough. Auburn set some really good screens in this game. Part of it is, I don't want to say luck, because Auburn won this game like handily, fair and square. But, to bank back-to-back threes in, there's some aspect of luck. I think that plays a part there for certain. 30 points from Miles Kelly, 22 from Chad Baker-Mazara, who might be college basketball's least favorite player at the moment. He can play. He can play. And then Tahad Pettiford, 21 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 8 of 9 from the charity stripe, had 4 assists, no turnovers. Tigers on the day, 8 assists, 8 turnovers, but really created some stuff in one-on-one situations. The thing that I would say, the only thing that you and I got right about this game was that Amari Williams would win the matchup against Janai Broome. Williams proved that he could have a better performance. Broome, 9 points, 3 of 9 shooting, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover. Meanwhile, Amari Williams had 13 points. Could have had more if he shot better from the charity stripe. 14 rebounds, 7 assists. Yes, he had 6 turnovers. alongside Lamont Butler, who had 5 turnovers in this game. Kentucky's front court as a whole, struggled at various spots, but I am proud of the fight that Amari Williams had against Janai Broome. I think objectively he was better and more impactful on the floor, I guess, for both teams, if you want to talk about the turnovers. Bruce Pearl's Gucci bag says, Kentucky, I hate that the refs were absolutely trashing this one. Hopefully we'll get a rematch. Appreciate it. For all the Auburn fans in here, I've had some rough interactions with Auburn fans in the past. First team to send some not so kind end your life type threats, but the people that I've seen online have been nothing but kind. You guys know where I live, so I appreciate all of the Auburn fans who kind of were respectful throughout this one. This is a great team, and I think Bruce Pearl's Gucci bag made a good point just now, saying the refs were really, really bad in this one. And this is not I'm kind of tired of saying the same thing over and over and over again about the officiating, because it's just crap this year. It's just worthless. Across college basketball, it's just worthless. But on both ends of the floor, it was really bad in this one. It was bad in the second half, I think, against Auburn. But in the first half, against Kentucky, there were some really bad fouls that were called that were not there. Specifically on the Tahad Pettiford 3, you look and you notice there's no contact. Even if Jay Billis is sitting here, like, calling for Kentucky to get a favorable whistle, something's gone wrong. I don't want to be smart, because all respect to Bruce Pearl and the Tigers, but Pearl saying before this game that Kentucky gets a favorable home whistle, I think has to be the biggest joke of 2025. I understand he currently pilots the number 1 team in the nation, and he knows a lot more about basketball than you or I do. I have no idea how he could scout his opponent, watch the games in Rupp, maybe he was selective, and come to that conclusion. I'm not trying to dog him, because, again, there's a reason that Auburn is the number 1 team in the nation, but that's got to be one of the stupidest things that I've heard this season coming out of college basketball. That's right up there with Archie Miller saying the SEC is 500. And that there's a problem with that. But hey, credit him and his Tigers. They know how to put together an offense. They know how to get their kids open. They play hard. They're deep. They're talented. They're all 23, 24, 25-year-olds who have been around the game for a long time. They can go out there and execute. They can beat your tail, and they didn't in Rupp today. They absolutely did in Rupp today. We'll continue breaking this one down. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay. You can use their live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting. You can back your team for a late-game rally or pick up a player to hit a clutch 3. Never really feel like you miss your chance when you're using FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, continuing along here on the, Saturday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Chatter notes it. We'll go ahead and just say it. So much for finishing the season 4-0. I try and be optimistic generally on this show, but here's the reality check. Here's the reality check for Kentucky. This was the thought going into this season. This is the thought coming into the postseason. And with all of the injuries that you can't really do anything about, here for anybody in Big Blue Nation that wants more, listen. If Kentucky makes the second weekend in the NCAA tournament, it will be nothing short of a miracle. The team is injured to crap. They're not playing their best basketball on offense right now. They're struggling to find open shots. This team is built to hit three-pointers, and they're struggling to even get open. A lot of it has to do with, again, personnel issues and lack of depth that they had at the beginning of the season, but they don't now because of injury. If they are able to find a way to beat whatever 14 or 13 seed that they match up against in the first round, which I think will be a small miracle on its own because of how injured the team currently is. Depending on the matchup, things could get ugly. If they win the second game against whoever they play, doesn't matter. Again, it will be nothing short of a miracle. This team is not, barring some miraculous health changes for Butler and Robinson, who, again, might need season-ending surgery. It's looking like it, according to KSR. This team is not making a run in the postseason. This is now, we are officially, at least in my mind, look ahead to next season unless you just somehow miraculously get hot. There is nothing analytically that you can point to, and I'm a big data person. There is nothing analytically that you can point to indicate that this Kentucky team is going to make a postseason run. There are some really good people out there who are stat professors or are majoring in such. Will put out newsletters and papers, talk about the Cats, and everyone says this is a paper tiger. You have to realize Kentucky's gotten lucky at different points this season. Kentucky's gotten really unlucky at other points, and it kind of conglomerates into this 19-10, 8-8 record, and you're not going to get anything incredible barring something that we cannot foresee or predict. I can't sit here and tell you Kentucky's going to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament because of these different things that I can point to. Now, maybe I can do that after the SEC tournament. Who knows? We don't know. There is no way to accurately predict with full certainty that Kentucky's going to do anything. As it stands right now, you wanted to see more from this team today, even down certain players, and you just simply did not get the production. You needed Travis Perry and Trent Noah to be something. In their combined 15 minutes, they had 0 points. Garrison had 1 point in 12 minutes with 3 fouls and a turnover. Ainsley Almanor in 8 minutes off the bench had no points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. And, yeah. Kentucky got 5 bench points. Jake Evans says, turnovers were super tough. How does Kentucky keep those things from happening again? I think a lot of it is offense, man. I think a lot of it is X's and O's. I think that if you have your 5-man operating, most of what you want to do set like in the half court, you're going to get some turnovers with that. If you want to look at another example of this, I think Danny Wolf from Michigan is a great example of, high risk, high reward type stuff where you can get a lot of things going with your 5, right? But also at the same time, you're gonna risk against some more physical opponents. You're gonna risk turning the ball over quite a bit. Butler and Williams though combined for 11 turnovers today, and I'll just say this: I think it's because he's hurt, but some of it's because he's hurt. But man, a lot of the mistakes that Kentucky made today, specifically from Williams and Butler, a lot of them were self-inflicted. Like just careless passes, just freaking out with the basketball. I told you guys in the preview episode, both preview episodes, what did I say? A lot of this game is going to come down to the mental aspect, and a lot of it's going to come down to what Kentucky does in the final 10 minutes of the first half and the bleed into the second. Auburn took control in the final 5 minutes of the first and into the second. That's where they dominated. They went on a 16-2 run early, and they dominated the middle 8. That's what it came down to. So you cannot be self-inflicting the majority of 18 turnovers, which Auburn cashed in on, by the way, quite a bit. I'll pull it up here. They had 21 points off turnovers. Kentucky loses by 16. Let's see. The one dude for Auburn that made 9 threes, they literally didn't hardly guard him. He made a couple of tough ones. The D is not there at all 5 positions. I agree. So the thing with Kelly is like some of the shots he hit were just like, man, those are tough buckets, man. Auburn's a good team. But some of them was like, hey, man, you're leaving them wide open. You gotta have some hype here. You gotta have some energy. Warren says the thing they can do something about is turnover after turnover after turnover. You can't turn the ball over 25 times a game or more and beat almost anyone. Yeah. Please keep saying what you're saying because you're the least knowledgeable goon on the internet. Coming from a man that has a username titled Peanut Butter Posse. I'm sure you know everything, man. We turned the ball over and didn't hit threes. Auburn made a couple wild threes. We're really not that far off. Auburn beat us, but we blew ourselves out. See, there's a competent thing. Maybe you do know more than me. Should have hired Patino back. I don't know about that one. I do like Pope. You ride with him. Again, every metric said you're going to lose, and Kentucky is down several players, and a couple of them are still playing hurt. And I understand everybody's going to say, well, everybody's playing hurt. Go watch an incredible video from KSR breaking down Kentucky's injury history, right? Go watch him break down just how much Kentucky has had to deal with relative to the other blue bloods and winners in college basketball over the last 6-7 seasons. It is crazy to me just how different, just how night and day it is. Zach Davis said, Auburn fan here. Williams impressed me, completely frustrated Broom. Luckily, Miles decided to shoot like a maniac. It's pretty good assessment of what happened here. Pettiford's balling, dude. That kid is smooth. Do you at least agree that they are regressing, though? Williams is the only player that seems to be getting better as the year goes on. Yeah, yes, I agree, Shame Stick. Yes. I think I said it a minute ago. The team is not playing good basketball right now, specifically on the offensive end. Kids are not getting open. Kentucky only got 17 threes off in this game. Outside of Brea, nobody hit a three-point shot. Nobody did. When you're not healthy and you have to go to your bench that's frankly not that good, and you're not getting good decisions out of your collective, you're turning the ball over, you're not getting production from your bench, you're not shooting well from three. I mean, a lot of this here, I think you can boil it down to and chalk it up to Kentucky did not hit shots. They were cold in Rupp Arena, and Auburn, who has shot really well away from Neville this season, they got hot. Kelly got hot. It's a good Auburn team. Does anyone know how many minutes Almanor got? He got 8. 8 minutes and missed the only shot he took. He was +5. Page's fear, Kentucky just turned the ball over again? Feels like it. Biker Believer says straight up turnovers most unforced cost us that game. Even shooting bad from three, they would have had a chance if not for the turnovers. I concur. I think a lot of this was self-inflicted, and I said this to my parents who I was watching the game with. I was like, I would like to see this Auburn team again, just to have the chance to play a cleaner game, because I think we could find some success. If Jax was back for the tournament, in the SEC tournament, and we faced off against Auburn as the 8th seed, I think that you have the chance to play a cleaner game and not turn the ball over as much. I would want at least the shot to do that. But Auburn is, I think, better than Kentucky in a variety of areas, except for one aspect, as Biker Believer points out. Kentucky dominated the boards. That's the first game this season where Kentucky has just beat the ever-loving crap out of the opposing team on the boards. Of course, part of that has to do with the fact that Auburn shot very well in this game, 52% from the floor, 46% from three. Again, a lot of that coming from Miles Kelly. Everybody else combined outside of him was 3 of 12. If you find a way to take Kelly out of the game, I mean, this one does get weird. It gets squirrely. I think that there's a volatile aspect to this game, or if you play it over and over and over again with Kentucky healthy, I think Kentucky definitely does some things differently and makes this more competitive or wins, but that's not reality. That's not what happened today. Kentucky lost by 16, and that's just something we're going to have to live with. We're going to push here. Continue along. Before I do it, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. March basketball is here. There's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. You can take a look at Jason Tatum. You can take a look at Kyrie Irving for going over their point totals. It's quick and easy. There's fast payouts. We've also got really cool deals like on Taco Tuesday. You can get discounted player projections for even more value. You can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, wrapping up the recap of Kentucky basketball's blowout loss to the Auburn Tigers. Bobby Osborne said they suck. They peaked in the first part of the season. I had the spread at 25. Jeez, Bobby. I was close. I doubt I'll watch them the rest of the season. Okay, well, I mean, it's cool if you don't watch. I don't really care, but, like, I mean, there's always the chance, I guess, that Kentucky does something. I think it does largely depend on, does Jax need season-ending surgery or not? Forrest David says Kentucky is 500 in the SEC. Auburn would likely win easily again, but the game would obviously be different. Threes, rebounds, and so on. Yeah. Biker Believer says that ref was a joke. Okay, let's just get this. I think it's Burnett. I think it was KB Burnett or whatever his name is. Let's get this very clear. Sat down to watch this with it's Joe Lindsey, KB, and Chuck Jones. Lindsey and KB probably should have kept. Did you watch the Arkansas game today, Bobby? Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Everyone in this chat, the 112 people in here right now, I want you to open another tab. I want you to Google Arkansas versus South Carolina basketball, and I want you to go look at the final score and the stats from that game. You tell me, make an argument why the coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks should be back here at the University of Kentucky. You cannot make a logical one. No disrespect, stupid comment. But yeah, Lindsey, KB, Burnett, they suck. I hate belaboring the point. We should have went after Patino. Now that, I'm not angry at that. Appreciate it, Jake. I do appreciate you, man. Yeah, I also have a good gig tonight. I hope you have a good gig. Yeah, I hate belaboring the point here, but the officiating in the Southeastern Conference and in college basketball as a whole just sucks. I mean, it's just flat out sucked this year. This game took 2 hours and 40 minutes to finish, by the way. I think part of that was because of what Auburn wanted to do in this game. Kentucky shot 38 free throws. Auburn shot 31. Yeah, man, Auburn will put you at the line. Do you think officiating will hurt SEC teams in the NCAA tourney? I heard an interesting take that the SEC is playing really rough and they may struggle with foul calls in the tournament. So are you saying like when we get to the tournament, less will be called or more will be called? Because if more is called, I think you're making an argument saying more will be called, which I think that's an absolutely logical take to have. Where hey, the SEC play more calls. Yeah, so if the SEC plays as physical as they have in conference play, I think you're going to see a lot more stuff from the officials in the NCAA tournament. I think that's very fair, actually. You're going to see a lot more free throws. You're going to see kids get in foul trouble. You're going to see rotations get weird. I think that it's going to stress different teams in this conference out that get to the postseason and realize they can't quite get away with some of the things that they have. I think you look at teams like Texas A&M. I think you look at teams like Mississippi State. If Georgia gets into the field, I'm praying on their downfall, frankly. Any SEC team that likes to rough them up and foul them, I'm actually pulling up Florida right now because if I'm not mistaken, they do a decent job of keeping teams off the charity stripe, but also they foul a little bit. Tennessee does a really good job of playing defense without fouling, so I'm not quite sure. But, man, the physicality in this league I think is way overdone. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that officials have kind of let it get to that point. And for the coaches that have been in this conference for quite some time, they know that they can get away with it, so they recruit kids that can go out there and literally punch you in the face and get away with it. So, yeah. The officials are terrible, but you can't just pay it all on them. They just looked out of sorts. This team is full of upperclassmen, and they came out looking like freshmen. I think that's a fair point. Straight up on the coaching staff to have this team ready. Yes, but also you're down pieces, and your lead point guard is clearly hurt, I think. Auburn's got some good actors. They do. They got a couple of guys that'll flop. Nowhere near as good as Alabama, though, in my opinion. Those kids know how to, if you lay a finger on them, you will do this, and they will throw their head back. One Piece, the One Piece is real. Tennessee plays such a boring game. Yeah, they're not. It's there are a lot of teams in this conference that just play a bland, annoying style of basketball. I don't know. How come Baker never got a tech for all the taunting in our guys' faces? That's a good question. I don't know. That foul call where Butler's driving to the rim and he hits CBM, and they upgrade it to a flagrant is an awful call. That is a really bad call, especially considering it's incidental in my opinion, as so many other things apparently were in this game. For Kobe Bryant to get hit on the head, like to get slapped in the head across up the forehead on a drive to the basket, and for that not to get upgraded, again, it's about consistency, man. If kids are getting hit in the face, doesn't matter who has the ball one way or another. If you're going to call it a flagrant on one end, you call it a flagrant on the other. You should be discussed in Kentucky. Let's talk analytics for a second then. Kentucky is 19-10, 9-9. They need to beat LSU on Tuesday. I expect they will. Called a common foul, against Williams, where he got smacked against Bama. I lost my ever-loving mind on that show. I don't have the energy to do it today. But yeah, you have to beat LSU. Let's say you lose to Missouri. 20-11, 9-9. Where will that put you? It will put you as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th team in the SEC. You'll play Mississippi State if Mississippi State beats South Carolina. Kind of hoping South Carolina beats State, because if you win that game, you'd go and face Auburn in the third round of the NCAA tournament. There's no point in me losing your mind. Y'all never had a chance to win that game. Yeah, I'm not losing my mind. I'm just kind of disappointed in the way that the game turned out. I think that's a fair stance to have. Auburn players nominated for an Oscar by the officials. I don't think it was that bad, especially not compared to the Bama game. The calls were not great. Every portal player that comes in needs to be an athlete that can create their own shot. Freshman guards will help, but the team will need more than that. That might be the best chat that we have gotten on this show this year. What did we say coming out of the offseason about this current roster? This is a roster full of spot-up, catch-and-shoot kids that cannot handle the ball and are bad at creating an isolation. Not just average, but bad at it according to Synergy. Every single portal player, Jay the Great makes a great point. Every single portal player needs to be a kid that can create an isolation and is physical and can draw fouls. Freshman guards and a Caden Lewis and Jasper Johnson, those guys will help, but Jasper is too wiry, I think, to create consistently against physical league play, so he's going to need a little help off ball. And then Lewis, I'm curious on. I think Lewis is I'm very excited about Lewis. He's the one guy where I keep looking, I'm like, man, I'm excited about him. But Jay makes a great point. The team needs help next season, and tonight was a perfect example of why Kentucky needs shot creators. This game just proved that Pope needs better players. The rotations are infuriating at different points, but if you had a better roster, you would not be saying that nearly as much. You need better talent. And credit to these kids. Credit to Williams. Brea, Carr, Butler, Owe, they've played really well at various points this season. They're not playing well together as a group right now. Daniel says, I think both fan bases are mad at ABC right now. Hey, did you see the final 10 minutes of this game? You probably didn't unless you were there, because the ABC broadcast just decided to go out. I don't know what happened. I think the TV truck there just completely shut down. But props to ABC for literally just kind of, I think, giving up at one point, just saying, you know what? We're not going to air it. So nobody really saw the final 10 minutes of this game outside of the people that were there. Probably a good thing. Refs getting that NIL money. I don't think the officiating here was that bad relative to the Alabama game. It sucked, but I'm just kind of tired of saying the same thing over and over again about how bad the officiating is. It sure as crap didn't cost Kentucky in this one. 18 turnovers cost you the game. And letting Kelly go for 30. We need to get a core set of players and keep playing them 30-plus minutes whole game. Isn't it crazy how the whole thing with Cal is that, the rotations, Kentucky's insufferable when y'all are complaining about the officials when y'all went 8 minutes without an attempt. Hey, brother, I don't know if your selective hearing might be your speed here, but I literally just said it's not the reason Kentucky lost the game. I pray that chat came in after I made that comment, but if it didn't, I'll reiterate it for you because apparently you people don't listen. Kentucky didn't lose the game because of the officiating. Does not mean we can't say the officiating sucked in this game. You moron. Is losing early in the SEC having more time to try and get a healthy best case scenario? It might be. It might be. That's a good point. It's a good point. Because Auburn might rough you up. I don't know if you play them a second time. It wasn't like we lost. It was the unforced turnovers. Yes. Jake Crane says, I hate the refs, but as much as anyone, but the refs didn't lose you the game. The turnovers and lack of three-point shooting cost you the game. Am I being gaslit right now? Am I being gaslit? Do I need to say it a fourth time? What is going on? Yes, the 18 turnovers and the 21 points off of said turnovers is what cost Auburn the game, and the inability to create three-point shots. I feel like I've said that 6 or 7 times now today. Do I need to say it again? What? Oh my gosh. The Georgia game was worse objectively. Objectively speaking, the Georgia game was significantly worse. Yeah. Please somebody else in chat tell me the refs weren't the reason we lost just the game. Robinson out for the year. See, that's the thing, man. I wouldn't be that upset if I knew that Robinson would be coming back for the SEC tournament, knowing that hey, he can be out for the year and be done. And this is the last we've seen of him in a Kentucky uniform, is the 7 points he dropped against Oklahoma. That sucks. 2 to 3 years, Pope will get us there. I think it takes time, man. I think it takes recruiting. You know what? We'll pull this up real quick. Let's go here. I am Command F. I'm going to Connecticut, and I'm going to Dan Hurley. This is what Dan Hurley's first 3 seasons at UConn looked like, and I want you to listen closely. 2019 in the American Conference, UConn went 16-17. In 2020, UConn went 9. Oh, OBS Studio is shut down. And we are back. Okay, wow. That's the first time OBS has ever shut down in my 4 years doing this. Hopefully everything's okay. But anyway, I don't know if he'll miss my point or not. My point being is that UConn took a while to get going. ABC shut me down too. They're trying to hold us down. They're trying to shut Kentucky down. The Kentucky erasure. We won't stand for this. We got to get out. There's a tunnel, to quote Northern Lion, there's a tunnel underneath the studio here. You just get into the tunnel, keep running. There's a Cracker Barrel at the end with the rest of the people from Rupp Arena. You'll be there. You'll be safe there. Are the players not buying in? They're supposed to shoot the lights out and make or miss. Well, they got to get open first, which is, I think, the problem here today. So, OBS's easy work. Yeah. Yes. The free streaming platform that you have can be shut down easily after Miles Kelly dropped a bomb on the ABC truck. What a shame. Auburn plays D. Yes, indeed. Yes, they do. Let's go back to KenPom real quick. Kentucky still is 6th nationally in offense, 62nd in defense. They dropped from 15th to 18th overall in the KenPom rankings, though, after their efficiencies didn't move, which is interesting. I think it was more because Clemson played a really good game today. Yeah, they throttled Virginia, so that's probably why, because they moved up a spot or two above Kentucky. So, well, we've already been live for 36 minutes, and OBS is trying to tell me to get off, I guess. So if anybody else wants to make a moronic comment about something that I said 5 minutes ago, I'd appreciate it. But for those of you that have been kind, for those of you that have made good points, for those of you that stick around and have watched this show for so long, I'd like to thank you and really tell you that I appreciate your support here. Season's not over, ladies and gentlemen. It's not over yet. We'll continue to break it down on Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless.